Oh boy. I think you just got my pillow.
No, this is my pillow. All right. Oh, getting ready. And of course, this dude is never ready when he's supposed to be.
I was ready. He just complaining about my attire.
I don't know why he feel like he just can do any kind of thing. I don't know what that's about. Look any kind of way.
She was complaining about my attire. She ain't like my wife beater. You know what I'm saying?
All right, so I guess we're ready, right?
Mm-hmm. Let's go.
All right. So, um, you got anything you want to start with before we start on the subject? Anything you
Uh-uh.
want to talk about? Any? No, no, no.
Yeah, I do actually. So I'm reading a book and I said this to her. I just want to say it to you guys. What is it? How to Love a Black Woman or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say what I've been saying this whole time that we've been doing this thing. Um, Communication, number one. But here's something else that I started believing. Uh, the mindset that it takes to be in a prosperous or a long lasting marriage. Um, I believe that young men uh, haven't been trained or seen it enough in their life to to adapt to the things that needs to happen in a relationship or a marriage to work. Um, I just seen a post earlier where it says something to the extent of the woman says the man tells the woman I'm cheating on you, and her response is like, okay, and so, and then the response that I seen people saying was that oh, that's because she already got another man on the side, or she getting deed or down over there, or she's mentally already tapped out. Well, what I that's probably something that I would have said before I became the mindset I have. But looking at that, I look at that now and I said, well, has why nobody addressed why she already tapped out, or why she's getting D on the side. Um, so what did the man do to make her tap out? What did the man do? Well, obviously by him saying he cheating, how many times has he cheated? Or the things that he's not doing and the attention he's not giving her. So I said that to say the mindset that men have to have at a younger age. I don't think they're acquiring those skills or knowledge from their parent or their father or their uncles or something. Because by the time we get to the age that we kind of want to really love somebody, we have to like me. I had to figure it out late, right? We haven't seen it, and then we start complaining about a woman that's been hurt. This is what I said to her. We start complaining about a woman that's been hurt all of these times, and then when we're trying to learn, she's seeing BS so much that she see the BS while you're trying to learn, and then we sit there and start talking about, oh, she like to argue too much, or she like this, that, and the third. So, I think it's a lot of it just can't be in healthy relationships, and it starts with us men. And I hate to be sounding like Derek Jackson or whatever, but that's actually what the more and more I look at it, that's what it is. An example I gave her is like, for instance, women can be married. We talking when I say this, let me clarify this too.
He's speaking generally.
Yeah, I'm speaking generally, and I'm speaking like with people with certain type of morals. So women could be ready to be married at 20 and be married forever, right? A man, no matter, I'm not gonna say no matter, but a lot of times it doesn't matter how he's brought up. Once society start getting into him, and you start hearing people call them bees and holes, and your boys talking about how much vagina they getting and this, that, and the third, some kind of way it seeps into our mind because that's supposed to happen. So when you hit your 20s, all you're doing is chasing women, and you're not looking for uh, relationships or marriages or to be married. While a woman will be wanting to be married or trying to strive for marriage, and all we want to do is mess with her friend, her sister, her cousin, the girl across the street, and all of that. And again, by the time we get to the point of readying, trying to understand how to love a woman, it's, I don't want to say it's too late, but most women have been through so much they don't want to hear none of that, man. Or it's harder to pull something over on them, and you're trying to do everything right, and it's not right because
or they just don't know how to love. Like, even if a woman hasn't been through anything, it could be that he just doesn't know how to love, and so because of that, that causes strain on the relationship.
So, so we need to. The key is trying to get to men and get to young men and get them to understand that earlier. Other thing that I want to say is this too, and I said this and I read it in the book, and she said it to me. Sometimes we try to love people how we want to be loved. Well, how I want to be loved may not be how she needs to be loved. So then you're doing your partner injustice. So. But yeah, I wanted to address that.
But and it's funny that he's reading a book called How to Love a Black Woman. I have the counterpart to that book, How to Love a Black Man. I haven't started it yet because I haven't had a chance to, but maybe I will when we're on our spring break thing. Bring it with me and read sometimes.
One more thing too, and I think this is key too. And I said this to her as well. A lot of times when when men be talking about providing, right? One thing that you could provide a woman that could get her to go all out for you love-wise and everything is security. And that word security is broad because it could be emotional security, financially security, just being secure in the relationship, knowing that her feeling is that she could trust you with everything in her. Once you get her to that point, then I think the love becomes significantly deeper. And I do believe that's what a lot of women want.
Well, that's part of it, I think, the security aspect of it. But the funny thing is that when I was thinking about this topic for today, actually a lot of things kind of prompted it. But as I was researching, because I do my research, this topic today, I was thinking about the people that are actually surprised when they're served with divorce papers, or people who are caught off guard because they didn't know that their partner was so unhappy, right? So I started digging a little bit into that and found some research. It was actually a study conducted by Michael Rosenfield in Stanford University in 2018. This study is quoted in a lot of different resources, but it was done again by Michael Rosenfield at Stanford University. And the study looked at who initiate divorces, and then it looked at how the different partners ranked their relationship as far as their marriage. And then it talks about the people that were primarily surprised by the divorce, right? So we talked about this a little bit before, but as we've heard, women are the one who initiates the divorce. 69% of divorces are initiated by women. And that's a big number. 69% of the divorces that are filed are initially filed by women. And the same women who file these divorces, when they ask them to rank their relationship, they rank their relationship way lower than their husband ranks the relationship. And the husband, apparently has no clue that his wife is feeling some kind of way during this marriage. And 70% of the men are surprised. Like, they're surprised by the fact that their spouse has filed for divorce. So
that actually happened to my cousin, because he I'm not to interrupt you, but I'll tell a story. What happened was, basically all of these years he had paid for his wife to go to school, took care of the kid, bought all the food, just paid for their vacations and all of that, right? But in the midst of all of that, a lot of men, and this is what that provide thing come from, people think that is providing, but what he wasn't providing was her emotional needs, and the thing he wasn't listening to her about, you know, what was bothering her. So, and I guess she got fed up and then came home and gave him divorce papers, and he wasn't even expecting it. And it threw him to the point of what she was saying. It threw him for a big loop. We, you know, she and I both talked to him and spoke with him for a couple months. And yes, he was hurt, but I was trying to explain to him that sometimes, and I'm not perfect, but sometimes we do things like that and we don't hear our women. You could do all of those financial things and pay for all of those little things. I mean, those things like that, and it'd be the most minute thing that you think is minute, that is so large to your woman that means the world for her, and you may disregard it, be like, oh, that's stupid, or oh, it shouldn't be like that, and then your response is, I do this and I do that. Well, that ain't, she appreciates that, but what about the little things that she really needs to make her feel however she needs to feel secure?
Yeah, that means secure in more ways than one. But it's, I mean, it's not funny, but I was thinking like, okay, why is it that, and it's primarily men. Like, okay, there were some women in that study, of course, that were caught off guard by their divorce, didn't know that thing, but it's primarily men. And so you have to think, okay, what is going on in these marriages and relationships where the partner, again, primarily men, have no clue that their spouse is unhappy? Like, what is preventing people from knowing that their partner is so unhappy that they're willing to take sometimes a marriage that they've been in for years and say, you know what, I'm done. Let me just, I'm filing for divorce. And so, of course, there has to be signs. Like there's got to be, you know how people call red flags when you talk about people that you shouldn't be in relationship with. There has to be all these red flags that says, hey, your relationship is in danger, your marriage is in danger, and people are just not paying attention to those red flags. They're just not. And it could be things like your partner is acting a little different. Yeah, or they may be in denial, Martez. I agree. Your partner is feeling overwhelmed. They're feeling tired. And I think what happens too, along with that denial, is that we're so busy or we're so used to taking each other for granted that we stop paying attention. We stop paying attention to those little things that's like, oh, well, he isn't really acting the way he normally acts. Like, he's changed these past few months and I don't know what it is, or she's changed, or she's more emotional these past few months than she normally would be. So we take so much for granted in these marriages that we don't even pay attention. We don't pay attention. We don't pay attention at all to these signs. Sometimes we'll even think like, oh, well, I've always done this in this manner, so I know it doesn't, they don't care. Like, it could be anything. Like, I've always, not helped do this, or I've always, went off and did this. And the person's never in years checked with their spouse to see if, hey, have your feelings about this changed? Are you still okay with this? Because again, we're just taking each other for granted. And we fail to recognize that people do change and they do grow as they're with you. And we fail to continue to learn each other. Because again, if we're learning each other, we would understand that there's some things, our likes and our dislikes are going to change. Some things that we may have tolerated early on in the marriage because it wasn't really that big of a deal to us is now a big deal to us. All these changes take place over years. And it should be expected that a partner or a spouse is going to change, or that things or circumstances and situations or boundaries that you had in your marriage or things that you were okay with in your marriage, that those things may change over the years. But we don't even take the time, or a lot of people apparently don't even take the time to do a welfare check on their marriage. They don't welfare check and say, hey,
a good saying would be, you supposed to grow in love. Your love is supposed to grow while together. However, I like to say, just listening to you and how I technically kind of feel, kind of how I feel about you. I think that I grow in love with you. And I told you that I find a way dang near daily, if not daily, weekly, something different that makes me fall deeper in love with you. And I don't, I've, I don't think that that's supposed, in my personal opinion. I haven't done no research. I don't do research, like she does. But I don't think that, and I don't want that feeling to ever stop, because as long as I'm feeling that I am growing in love with you, or my love is getting deeper, or our love is getting deeper, whether it's weekly, daily, monthly, or whatever, then I think that we're making progress and going in the right direction. I don't think that.
Well, kind of, but this is the thing, though. This is what people fall down. Okay, so love is an emotion, but it's also action. A partner may not know that someone is growing in love with them every day if you're not showing them that. I mean, you have to show them things. Like, you can love someone with all your heart and still not be engaging in actions that's showing them love, right? So there's plenty. I'm pretty sure that many of these men that were surprised with the divorce, they love their partners, loved them, thought they was loving them how they needed to be loved, and they were not, apparently.
Well, if you,
they were not. So they could have been so in love with them and just devastated. Like, I don't know why they're divorcing me. I thought I was doing everything right, but have you checked with your partner to see if everything was okay? So you can love someone. I don't say love to death anymore, but you can love someone to life, and that's why sometimes people say love is not enough. I think now what my understanding of it would mean is that when people say love is not enough, I think it's because people are saying, hey, you can't just be emotionally in love with someone. You have to be showing and demonstrating love too. You just have to be. You can't be feeling like you just love them and not demonstrating that.
Yeah, because you could love someone and be in love with them head over heels, and then you just keep spending all the money, or you keep hanging out all night. You didn't even have to be cheating,
right?
But at that point, your relationship will quote unquote end. Like, I do love you. I am in love with you, but I just can't take you doing blah blah blah, or I don't like you doing blah blah blah. So I can agree. I can see that point.
Right. And so there are some ways that, and they're very basic, or you would think would be very common sense, basic ways in how we should be performing these welfare checks, right? And this is just my opinion, but I think this is what works. And number one on the list, of course, is communication. We keep missing the ball when it comes to communication repeatedly. We just miss the ball. But I think one of the ways in which we can try to be more effective or have better communication is first by people being honest in their communication. And it's funny because Reverend Pastor Thigpen last Sunday did a sermon, and he was talking about how when somebody asks you, like, how are you doing? And you just be like, good. You're not really being honest and telling them like what's really happening. And I think we do a lot of that when we communicate with each other, even in relationships. Like, we may not even be aware that's what we're doing, but we're doing it, right? Because we may feel like, well, I don't really want to keep burning and bothering them with this, or they don't think it's important anyway, or it's silly that it's so important, blah, blah. So you don't, for whatever reason, honestly and openly communicate with your partner. And one of the ways in which honest communication can be facilitated is by putting things on a table first and foremost, because most of the time when people don't honestly communicate, it's because they're fearful of something, right? They're fearful that maybe the person's not gonna respond in the way that that they would like them to respond. They feel that the person's going to get upset, that they may want to get a divorce if they hear what they have to say, or they may think that they're complaining too much, or they may think that it leads to a fight or whatever. So people don't communicate honestly because of those things. So one of the ways I think that people can have more honest and open communication is by setting some ground rules with regards to that in your marriage. That can be one of the things that you talk about on a frequent basis. Say, hey, when we communicate with each other, nothing is off the table. We communicate about everything, and we're not going to get mad. We're not going to take it into the next day. We're not going to sit up all night and fight about it. We'll each take our time to kind of contemplate what's being said, and we'll discuss it like that. And divorce is off the table. So don't worry that I'm going to leave you because unless you're cheating. But don't worry that I'm going to leave you because you didn't just told me that my feet stink. Okay, like if my feet stink, they stink. Like, just tell me that, right? My feet don't stink, y'all.
You just told me if I start stinking, you divorcing me.
in that way, yes. Because I came with the whole, never mind, that's a whole different conversation. But but I mean, people have to be know that the communication that they have with their spouse is not going to end bad.
And again, it has to be that's that security thing, and you both have to be secure in your relationship to where you could get to that point and know that person is not going to blow up or whatever. Because I'm starting to change my viewpoint on something. When we went on the cruise, and then people was like, "Oh, marriage is hard," or whatever. I don't want to say it's hard, but I could kind of see what they're saying, because it's work, right? It's definitely work. It's constantly working. So now if you're lazy like me, it becomes hard. but no, it's definitely it's something that I never looked at like that before. But it's work. So in if you're in a workplace, you just don't curse your supervisor out, unless you're me. But normally you just don't curse your supervisor out. You speak to them in a way that you're going to keep your job, or you're not going to get disciplined or whatever. You should do typically the same type of thing in your marriage. Like if she tells me, "Hey, your left toenail too long, you need to cut it, but I really like it," or whatever, I shouldn't be like, "You know what? I had this toenail before I met you. You ain't gonna tell me about my toenail." So we should have a conversation about it, right? Like it's to be, you know what? I think that's offensive. Like, what do you want me to do? You could, or something. You speak with one another with you speak to one another and with love. You talk to the person like you love them. And that makes people feel, in my opinion, makes people feel a little bit more secure and at ease of saying certain things.
Yeah. And then the other thing is that communication, so it has to be honest, but it also has to be effective, right? Because if you're communicating but it's not effective, then it's like you're not communicating at all, right?
Give an example of
so in effective, I'm saying, like, we all know communication goes both ways. Yes, it does. But part of us learning each other and knowing each other should also mean that we know kind of when to say, okay, your response was this. Why did you respond this way? Okay, so why are you giving me hints about something? A lot of times people say, "Well, I didn't know that they ever felt this way. I didn't know that they felt," and it's like, okay, but didn't you tell me that you all just had an argument last week and she said you wasn't listening to her? So how did you not know that she didn't feel this? Did you stop to ask her, like, what do you mean by I'm not listening to you? Or have your partner ever said, I never feel like I can talk around you? They've said that to you. It may not have been as directed or, as detailed as you wanted them to be, but they told you something. They gave you a hint that something is off about your communication, and you didn't take the time to kind of dive into that, right? So it has to be effective in that way. And then you also have to perception check. If you don't understand something,
that's
ask them, like, why is it important to you that I do this? Sometimes we'll get mad and say, like, she doesn't want me to go this place, or he doesn't want me to go this place, or he doesn't want me to wear this, or she doesn't want me to do this. And then we never stop and ask, like, okay, why? What about that makes you feel a way? And then listen to the person's response. Because it could be something where you're like, oh, okay, well, I get it. I understand that you feel this way because blah, blah. So let's try to work something out. So you have to perception check. You have to ask, like, what is it that you mean? Why are you upset about this? Why did this make you feel like this? And then you have to also say, clarify. Hey, this is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing you say that this and this and this. Is that correct? Because maybe we think we heard something one way and it's not how that they meant it at all.
And you know how long it took her to get there, like with me, because I'll say something and to me it sounds fine, but to her it'll sound a different way. And then she used to jump off the grid, just be upset. Well, you shouldn't have said that to me. This and that third. But this is how counseling helped us, sidebar helped as well. Through us talking and through going to counseling and talking about certain things, then she got a more feel of how I try to explain myself. So if it sounds like that to her, then she would do exactly what she asked. Like, well, that didn't sound right. Did you mean this or da da da? Now, if I said no, I meant this, and it sounded like it sounded, then she gets mad. But she so it's a great thing. I think accountability and with your communication, number one, and then communicate with the purpose. I'll say that with the purpose, which will help you get to the effective communication as well. Because if you're communicating and you don't take any accountability of how you made someone feel, then it's gonna stop right there. You're not gonna get further than that.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And you have to, because you can't say, "Well, I didn't mean it that way, so you shouldn't have got mad."
Right, and even as I was going to say, basically the same thing. Like, you don't necessarily have to still agree with what the person said, right? But if it made them feel a way and you love them, you know what? I definitely didn't mean it that way, or this is why I meant what I said, but I apologize. But you have to mean it. I apologize for hurting your feelings, right? To me, an apology, this is, to me, my opinion, or apology, a sincere apology kind of offsets that.
It does.
It offsets that, because you still can mean what you say. Because if I say something like, hey, I don't like your hair like that, and it hurts her feelings, I meant I don't like your hair, right? I should feel comfortable saying that, but my intent is not to hurt her feelings. So if she comes back and say, well, that hurt my feelings, you could have said it in a different way, or you said it you know what? I apologize. I definitely wasn't trying to hurt your feelings. And you just be sincere about it. And then you can move on to you took accountability, and then now you're starting to talk with a purpose, which ends in the effectiveness.
Right, exactly. And then people need to communicate often. Okay. And what I mean by that is, like, yes, we communicate throughout the day. As couples, people are always communicating throughout the day, right? Whether you call and saying, hey, can you go pick up something? I need this grocery, dinner's ready, blah, blah, blah. Yes, you're communicating, but you still have to set aside time to communicate, really, really talk. And we've talked about our touch bases before. And it is important. It's important to set aside time to have these type of moments where you can speak to your spouse honestly, effectively, openly, with purpose, with accountability, and nothing is interrupting that time, right? So that you can talk and you can get things resolved. You can discuss your goals, your worries, your obstacles, your fears. And you have to stick with that. You have to set a time and stick with it, but don't let it become so routine that you don't put any effort in it, right? So you can't have a touch base and it's just like, it was just touch base today. Oh,
I was doing that at first because I didn't understand.
It's okay, I ain't got nothing to really touch base about.
This week. I was killing that, like, because I thought. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay.
No, I was saying, I thought with the touch base, and it's the welfare check basically is to the topic. With the touch base, I thought it was about addressing issues. I mean, that's just one part of it. Like, if we argued this week and then it didn't get resolved, maybe we should talk about that. I thought that's what it was all about. And then she said something to me that I didn't kind of understand about it, and then I read it or heard it somewhere else, and then it locked in for me at that point. So that's one way to check in on your marriage or your relationship.
Right, definitely. Touch base, and then in them touch bases, talk about where you think the marriage, if you think there's some things lacking in the marriage, talk about it. I really feel that this week, made me realize that we're lacking this, or this week made me realize that I don't feel supported by you with regards to this, or this week made me realize that I really, have a hard time talking to you.
And stop right there. Even with that, saying, when you say, if somebody tell you they don't feel supported that way, this is the accountability aspect and the understanding and the maturity that has to come in with that. Because the initial response is, well, I've done everything that I can for you, this, that, and the third, but did you ask them what they needed? Right. So while you thinking you did everything, what you say, the welfare check,
yeah,
you didn't, because I was doing that as well. I was quick to say that, well, I'm doing everything I can. Well, I'm doing everything that I can. but am I doing everything that she needs me to do?
Right.
So it's a difference in that.
And it even involves like knowing your partner to the point where they may say, well, no, it doesn't bother me, or no, this is fine. And you dig in and say, no, okay, it is important. It does bother you. I can tell by the way you're acting. I can tell that your mood is off. I can tell blah, 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 blah. And then you ask them to be honest and open with you and to tell you what's going on. So that's all part of the touch base too. And then I said, like, another way in which you can do a welfare check on your marriage is taking some time periodically to give your marriage a grade. Give it a grade and set up your own like grading rubric. Set up and define for it what it's going to be. Like, okay, we'll give it an A if this is going on. We'll give it a B if this is going on. We'll give it a C if this is going on. Yeah, I learned this from actually another person that does a relationship coaching. But give your marriage and your relationship a grade, and figure out together. Hey, if we ever get to a C, we gonna have to do this and this and that. When we get to a C, that means we need to take some more proactive steps to figuring out why we're at a C and getting us back up to an A. Or if we get to a B, because some people don't want to be below. I think the guy was saying they don't go below a B. If we get to a B, that means we got to start working on something because we lacking somewhere. Something is going on.
So what if we disagree on the grade?
Well, you discuss it. That's what your discussion is, because you're gonna have to extra. Why do you feel that it's a B? And they may tell you, provide solid evidence, and you may say, well, this is why I believe it's an A. But at that time, no, if you have a partner that grades it low and your grade is high,
then something is off.
Something is off. And that means you need to work together as though that grade, the low, you go with the lowest grade and say, hey, if the grade is a B, we're going to work like it's a B, even if I feel like it's an A.
Well, hold on. Let's sidebar right now.
No, we're not.
No. So I grade us an A+.
We haven't defined our grading rubric.
Well, it doesn't matter. I think
C's get degrees.
Hey, that's true. It's passing, ain't it? Oh, sidebar, Tez. Look, I seen I'll get ready to start my classes Friday, right? And I seen the dang old thing said, in order for you to keep your financial age, you got to make a 66 point something. I said, oh, I can do that with my eyes closed. That's all I made in high school was 66. Those was F's. So you gonna tell me I can pass with a 66? We'll get that degree. Anyway, sidebar. I'm sorry.
But no, so give it a grade and do a period. Set up a time. We'll, every 6 months we're gonna give a grade. Every 6 months, or we gonna however you want to set it up, but set it up. And then you not only set it up on a timeline. So if you say every 6 months, but then also give yourself the marriage a grade if something happens. If you get into a big explosive argument, a big fight, and blah blah blah, give it a grade. Then so go in there and do an assessment. We do risk assessments all the time, right? And we'll do risk assessments on vendors that we say are critical, and we'll say, okay, we're gonna do this risk assessment yearly. But if they have a breach, like if somebody hack into their system, it's like, okay, we gotta do another risk assessment right now to see where we at.
And I got an idea. You can make that kind of fun. It doesn't have to be as serious as you making it sound, right? Because here's the thing: in school, you got different subjects, right? So like in different areas, it could be like whatever the grade is, like ABC, whatever you do, and then in this area you can grade it too. Right. So that would be kind of fun, because at the end of the day, like you said, and it's gonna help. I think because of an argument we had, it was a A, and you was like, no, it was a C- or something. It's like, okay, well, I think we did blah blah blah, yada yada, pretty well. No, but I was feeling like this at the end of it, whatever. So what that actually does, that's kind of smart. Whoever came up with that, because they get you talking more as well. Yeah, they get you speaking to one another more. Like even with the like we said, we do the touch base. Sometimes I've gotten better at it, but sometimes it can get, I don't want to say stale, but that would, put it like this, that would just jazz it up a little bit more. So that's something that we may need to try to do.
Yeah. So do that. Give it a grade. And then.
Well, stop. I'm going to say this. I got to say it because I'm bragging. From where we came from, the little disagreements we had and how we was clashing, I give us an A+ right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he says A+. I ain't gonna tell you what I'm saying. No, I'm saying, but no. So that's setting up some type of grading scale, or like I mentioned, risk. Like if you're in the risk field and you do risk analysis and things like that, do a risk assessment. Okay, these are some critical risks, and if these things continue, it's gonna make our grade go down. Or these are some high risk that's attacking our marriage right now, and if this continue, you can do that. You can determine what's going to be. It could be something like a critical, for some people critical risk may be like financial. Our financial thing, we're financially unstable, and because we're financially unstable, that's a critical risk. Why could it be a critical risk? Not because you're so focused on you have to have money, but people know that lack of finances and lack of ability to pay bills and stuff causes arguments, causes additional stress, right? So that could be a critical risk. Okay, critical risk is our financial instability, and we need to figure this out now so that that's not something we're going to be dealing with as far as a stressor on our marriage.
And if you're not open to those type of ideals, then I think that your relationship may be in a C or a D anyway, because at the end of the day, whatever tools work, and I'm not saying that it has to be that, but you have to have an open mind to be able to make your relationship / marriage work. Like if you saying no, I know everybody not like me, because if you'd have caught me at 25 and talking like that, giving grades, we ain't in school, I'm gonna think that's stupid. And if you have that type of mindset, then you're setting your relationship and marriage up to fail anyway. So you definitely have to. It goes back to what I started off saying. Like it's a maturity level that comes with being in a long-lasting, healthy relationship. What was it, that last book that we read, whatever the name of it was? It's about getting out of your own way, basically. Right. You know what I mean? Like, and that was some of the hardest stuff for me personally to do. So when we talk about these things, I have to keep using myself as a reference point, because I was terrible and I got better. Am I perfect? Heck no, but I'm a lot better. So you just have to be open to different things in order to make it work. And if you're not going to be open like that, then you're setting your relationship up for failure.
That's true. One of the other things we can do is, and we talked about this a little earlier, but again, pay attention to your partner, okay? Because that's a way in which you can also kind of do a welfare check on your marriage or even on your partner. Just again, pay attention. Don't take your partner for granted to the point where you're not even noticing slight changes in them. They could just be mental changes and you're not even paying attention to it. They could be having more anxiety than they normally have. They could be staying up and not being able to sleep more. Pay attention to those things. It's not necessarily, doesn't necessarily mean that there's an issue with your marriage, but if there's something going on with your partner that they need your support in because it's keeping them up at night, you should be taking initiative to be supportive and saying, hey, I noticed that you're staying up, that you can't sleep. What's going on? What can I do? Because it's those things that, even though again, it's not directly related to your marriage, could lead to your partner saying, you know what, I don't feel supported in here. Or there's some people who have complete mental breakdowns, and because they have these mental breakdowns and the partner doesn't know what's going on or hasn't checked to see what's going on, the person leave the marriage irrationally, or they leave a marriage prematurely, and your part is all because you're not in touch with each other. You're not in tune with each other like you should be. And so you need to pay attention and take the initiative. If you see something that's going on or something's off, say, hey, okay, I know something's off. What do I need to do? What can I do?
And again, man, that's about, I've said this 1,000 times again, that's about being selfless. And it's about totally trying to become evenly yoked with your partner. And all of that is work. What I love about us, and I always talk about us, I'm sorry, because I don't know nobody else like us, except Tez. Y'all pretty cool too. You and Yvette pretty cool. But like I love the fact of the matter that sometimes we be thinking the same things and getting ready to say them I ain't even gonna say sometimes, that's a lot. Getting ready to say the same things at the same time, right? And that's just because we've been around one another so much. I don't know if that's subconsciously, or we just kind of start thinking alike on certain things. But I told you this before. I love that fact that we just connect like that at that point. So, it was work. Like it was work, and we still got a lot to go.
We do. And then the another one, kind of the last one I had was spend time. So when we're talking about time, we're talking about quality, of course, and quantity, because they kind of go hand in hand. Like a lot of times you'll say it's quality over quantity. Yes, in a lot of instances, that's the case. When you're talking about a marriage, you have to have both, right? You can't give somebody quality time once every 2 months and think that that's going to be sufficient. That's not. And for most people, it's not. So you have to do quality and quantity, right? Figure out, set aside some time that it's just the two of you, and stick to it. Set aside some time where there's not going to be any distractions. You're not going to be working at the same time that you were together. You're not going to be on your phone at the same time you're together. You're not going to be dealing with the kids at the same time. Find some time, and it doesn't have to be extravagant vacations or bay vacations or date nights or anything like that. It could be saying, hey, we're going to camp out in our room this weekend, and we don't want anybody to bother us. We're going to order in, we're going to have the door locked, and we're going to just spend time with each other like we just by ourselves. That's quality time. And you can do something like that multiple times because it's relatively inexpensive, and you're still at the home. If you have kids and everything else, you're still at the home. You're just kind of isolating yourself for a period of time. So you have to be able to do things like that. And I think out of this, the most important thing is just like never assume that everything is all good. Just stop assuming that. Just don't stop assuming everything is all, even if you feel in your bones, in your soul, in your spirit, in your heart, hey, everything's all, don't assume that. Never assume everything's all good. Do temperature check with your partner frequently. Do a temperature check. Just don't assume that, because there could be a lot going on. You may be thinking, like we mentioned earlier, like I'm doing everything right, so it could be nothing wrong. And it could be a host of things that you may not be doing right. It's kind of like what I put on our we have a little board that we write sayings on sometimes, and I actually got this from Pastor Thigpen, but it was kind of like I say, hey, don't get an A on the wrong assignment. Don't be working hard on the wrong assignment. Because you could be saying, I'm doing this, I done did this, I done did that, and the person be like, hey, I didn't want any of that. This is what I wanted from you. So don't get an A on the wrong assignment, y'all. And that's how the welfare check your marriage.
And I'm gonna tell y'all something else too, like something that I think I said Sunday. I had to do it one time this week. My Monday started off kind of crazy, and I told her Sunday when we did our touch base, I said no matter what goes on this week, if either one of us get in a mood where we just not feeling well, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna hug one another and tell one another we love each other, right? And for me, what that signifies is like, hey, I know you got my back. I'm appreciative of you. I'm thankful to have you, and she will make me feel better. Well, that happened to me Monday. It wasn't nothing major, but it was just something that just threw me all the way off at the dentist appointment. And then I got a phone call, and I was like, yo, this is crazy. I came home and I hugged my wife, and that did make me feel better, as well as listening. Remembering what some scriptures had said that I had heard as well, because that helped too. But and then she just did that yesterday. I don't know how it made her feel personally, but it made me feel good as well doing this, because she was like, I just need my husband. And he hugged me about 5 times yesterday. I thought we had just met again, but I thought back in love or something, falling all in love new again. So I mean, those little things like that helps. But that to me, that's as she said, a temperature check as well, because it's something that well, I said Monday, but it's something that, you know, we started, especially with the hugging thing, that lets us know, like, okay, well, our connection is still there. Like, well, she can count on me. I can count on her if something's bad and I'm just feeling off, or, you know, whatever the case is. So for me, it helped. I don't know what it did for her.
It did help.
Sometimes you need that extra, like, motivation, but that extra love, so to speak.
Exactly. So anyway, those were the points that I came up with that I wanted to go over on this live tonight. Was about again how to do a welfare check on your marriage. So communication, um, grading it, taking initiative, paying attention, and and spending quality time and doing it frequently. Okay, so those are the things that everyone should contemplate with regards to making sure that their marriage stays intact. Because trust me, you don't want to be one of them people that get served divorce papers and have no clue that a divorce is coming. And that's 70% of men right now. You don't want to be like in that predicament where you just had no idea that the person that you were so in love with was just like, yeah, this is not it. This is not hitting on nothing. So let me go file for this divorce.
I'm glad you brought that back up because I'm going to go back to the book for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
This book says that what's the name of the book again? How to Love a Black Woman. Yeah. That it got a chapter that says, or a section that says, men and women are on two different frequencies, right? FM and AM. They said women are on FM, men are on AM, and that's kind of true because as I stated earlier, the things that we think that doesn't matter to us, it matters to them. So I'm saying that to say the thing with the divorce, right? It had a section in there where it said how when we start arguing, or when women and men start arguing, sometimes women feel as though that because they're arguing, the man is fully engaged and she has his attention all the way, right? So I'm saying that because if you feel as though that's the only way you could get my attention, sooner or later, that's not going to work either. And it's going to end up to you getting the papers because at the end of the day, it's like she done tried everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like she tried to talk to you subliminally. She tried to tell you directly. She tried to argue with you to get like, hey, I'm right here. I need something. And you don't get it. And sometimes you may deserve some papers. And not marijuana papers.
You know what? No. But that is it. I wasn't shocked that women initiate the divorce. I was more so shocked that it was so many men that were surprised by it, right? Because I figured, like, okay, well, you get at the point of divorce, apparently there's something going on that you both know about, but I guess not. So that number shocked me. That 70% of men don't see it coming at all. Like
the first time I ever heard of it was my cousin. Though I thought that if you getting a divorce, like you said, you've been arguing and both of y'all come to agreement that I'm moving out or I'm leaving, and somebody go. That was the first time I ever literally heard of a couple, married couple, and you still living there, and then next thing you know, you come home one day and she like, bang, here go the papers. I'm like, what that was crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
That was crazy to me. And that's kind of hard. Ooh, that's kind of traumatizing too, though.
It has to be. Yeah, definitely traumatizing.
Think about it. Yeah.
I think it does. And the other thing I want to point out, sometimes we may not know, even the person who has the issue may not even know how to articulate it and may not know where it's stemming from and may not know where it's coming from. But at that point, that's where you become a supportive partner again and say, hey, maybe we need to see some type of professional help that can help us dig in and see what's going on. Because it could be like you told me in the book how they said men like concrete stuff, things that's concrete. Sometimes you're not going to always get that, right? And I think maybe that's why some of these men were surprised, because they were waiting for some concrete, this is what's wrong in this. And maybe from the woman's side, it was like, it's hard to pinpoint what it is, but it's lacking in some kind of way. And the way to the seem like the way that people could resolve that is saying, okay, well, we need to go seek someone outside of ourselves to see if they can help us figure out what's going on. We need extra help to kind of figure out this and maneuver it, because it may just be like this person needs some type of mental health counseling because they've gotten something that was repressed and now is surfacing. It could be a host of things. You just never know.
Well, I'll say this as well. And again, I'm sorry if I sound repetitive, but both parties have to be willing. I'm listening to you say that when you said outside professional help. I know somebody that actually went to see a counselor with their wives, and then this is literally what he told me. He said, and she told me he said it too. The counselor asked him, well, what do you guys expect out of being here? And his wife said, I basically want him to, uh, become closer to me and us to get our marriage back to where it was at. And his response was, I'm just here because she wanted to come. Like, if you're going to be in that type of mindset, then you can't go down a one-way street and
Right.
think, you know what I mean? Like, it got to be a two-way street with that.
Right. That's
So
definitely true.
you both people have to be on the same accord. And again, that's you loving each other. Like, what does your marriage and your partner really mean to you?
Exactly. So that's true.
Because I couldn't think of nobody else. Well, how the song say? Well, I said, well, I said something. I'd rather have bad times with
No,
you.
don't do that.
Oh, my bad. But
No, it's really important. So I just thought it was something important to touch on tonight. You're not, most people, you're not gonna go 5 days without talking to your child. You're not gonna go 10
unless you
days
need,
without checking in on your mother, your father, or your
unless you
grandmother if
need,
they still here with you. So do those welfare checks on your marriages as well. All right.
I've been months without talking to my father when he was here. I've been whole some months without talking to my kids.
That's not
So
the point, Jermaine. You're
unless you,
different.
I'm a critical thinker.
But anyway, seriously though, if those people are important to you, your marriage should be just as important to you. And conducting those welfare checks on your marriage can help you stay married.
If you want to be married.
All right. Well, that's all I have for tonight.
Oh,
I'm gonna go back to watching. I was watching the Wendy Williams series on Lifetime. It's really sad. I don't know. It's kind of sad. I'm not a big Wendy Williams. I don't know what you want to call it, fan, or it's not even that. I never got into like her shows or what she was doing or anything like that. And her documentary is sad.
Well,
Thank you, Taz.
let me say this. Appreciate it, Taz. Let me say this. Wendy Williams also, and I'm pretty sure some people around. I haven't been following her whole situation ever since I seen her faint on TV. But some people may say that, and this ain't godly, that she deserves what she's getting. The reason why, because all of the stuff that she stirred up when she was on Hot 97. That's when I was living in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And all this, like, she was like in everybody. She was the internet before the internet became the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she knew everybody business. She was at the club with all these celebrities, telling these celebrities, then coming back. She'll go to a club, see, I'm just gonna throw somebody's name out there, see Jay-Z with a girl, hugged up on her and all of this, and then come back on the radio and announce it to the world so Beyonce can hear it. Like, she was doing that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to the point where people was rolling up on her trying to fight her at the radio station. And then that's part of the reason she ended up getting fired. It was bringing them a lot of listeners and stuff like that. But people kept wanting to come to the radio station to fight her, and she kept getting in the altercations out in the streets. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the reason Hot 97 got rid of her. And then from there, she went on to Wendy's News or something, and then that just built her career. So she was messy. She built her stuff on being messy. So I'm pretty sure people out there saying, "Oh, she deserved that because of what she used to do and stuff like that," which nobody. I mean,
yeah, she's gone through a lot. The documentary is really we did one episode and it was. Like I said, it's sad. Like, you don't want to see anybody go through something like that. So it's definitely sad. But we will be here. I think next week we'll be on spring break with the kids, but we may still pop in and do a short live or something. So we'll let you know ahead of time. But we're taking the kids on a little trip, and hopefully they get to see the gators and stuff like we did the last time. But we're just kind of going away for a little bit to kind of relax and chill out. They say chill out.
I'm gonna be doing schoolwork. So listen to this. Before we go, I want to say this right here, right? Because this reminded me of Gatorland when you said that. So I seen this this saying, right? And it said it was at a alligator park, and the owner of the park offered anybody that could swim across that alligator thing and make it to across the alligator pit to the other side. He said he'll give him $1 million. So next thing you know, you hear splash and a dude swimming. and he made it all the way to the other side. And the owner said, "Well, come to the office so I can give you your money." Guy came to the office. He said, man, that was real brave of you to jump in there and swim across there." He was like, "Nah, I didn't. I got pushed in, and my wife did it." So basically, what the whole theory behind that is, behind every good man, it's a woman pushing him.
Y'all don't even know where he went.
Yeah, I
Okay.
know why I came up with that.
I know either.
Let's try
That
to
was just-
get
that was
to the
horrible.
hour. Whatever, baby.
Okay.
I didn't tell it right.
All right. Y'all have a good night. Bye-bye.
Yep.
Ruckus. You
I'm
know,
gonna kiss you because you said you didn't like my joke.
I ain't like your joke at all.
Tell me you like my joke.
It was horrible.
That was not a horrible
It
joke.
was definitely
It was